Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to DJ's Workshop. So, spring has finally arrived. We made it through the winter and hopefully onto some better weather soon. It's that time of year where everybody's thinking about getting the bikes back out, getting them on the road. Just waiting for some nice weather. So, while we're waiting, we're going to do a little maintenance on the vehicles. I've already done a video on changing the oil on my Vulcan, so I'm not going to do that. But we did purchase the Can Am Spyder F3 Limited last year, and didn't do a service on it because it was serviced right before I got it. So now that we're getting ready for riding season, I'm going to go ahead and do an oil change on it. That way when the weather breaks, we'll be good to go. Alright, so I'm going to show you what we need to do this, and then I'll show you how we'll get it done. Stay tuned. Alright, so what you're going to need is a oil change kit. You can buy these already put together with the filters and the oil and all that stuff. So this was a kit I actually had from my old Spyder, which was a RT Limited. You can see here they have different filters. So this is from the RT. I can't use that one, but basically the oil is the same, so I can reuse that. So I just went online. I believe I went to Baja Ron's website, and I purchased the filter I needed. Okay, this is an HF 556 filter, which is obviously a lot bigger. And then it also comes with all the O-rings that you're going to need for the drain plugs and the filter and all that. And then I just had to buy 2 extra quarts of oil, so I just went down to the local motorcycle dealer that sells the Can Am stuff and purchased some more oil. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 quarts, which is what I believe it holds. And then we have the filter and the O-rings, and that's pretty much what you need. We'll grab some tools together and we'll get under there and see what we got to do. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you got to elevate the bike a little bit because it is kind of low, so you need to get a little bit of clearance under there. I just drove it up on a set of ramps here, and that should be sufficient. All right, you're going to go underneath, and there's actually 2 drain plugs that you have to take out. One is for the oil pan, basically, and the other one is for the clutch. So if you look up under the engine, right up in here, you can see there is a T45 Torx. Okay, that's that one there. And then there's a plug on the other side, which I'll show you when we get to that one. So let's get this plug out, and we'll get this oil drain, and then we'll move over to the other side. All right, so you can see the oil that's coming out is nice and clean. That's good. So when you do this, first thing you want to do is you want to warm the bike up for about 10 minutes or so. That way the oil is thinner and it flows out much easier. All right, so we're going to let that drain out, and then I'm going to show you where the filter is, and then we'll get on the other side and drain the other side out. Normally you want to pull the dipstick out just to let the air flow through a little bit better, but it's still flowing okay. So I'll pull the stick out, and then... Okay, so when you come up to the top of the bike, you want to take this side cover off here. All right, you just take this, and then the cover will pop right off. I'll give you a little light in here so you can see what's going on. Okay, so here's your oil stick. All right, and then what you want to do is just kind of pull that out for now. That way you can get some air into the crankcase. Now your oil filter is going to be kind of down behind here. So we're going to actually have to pull this side cover off right here. So I'll show you how to get that done. All right, so the first thing is on the side cover here, we have a couple of Torx screws. These are T20s, so you're going to want to take these out. Okay, and that should allow this to pop out. Okay, now we have a couple of push pins that we have to get out also. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 push pins there we need to pop out. And then there's another Torx screw down over here that we need to get out. So let's take that out also. Okay, just gonna get yourself one of these little tools like this. This is a little screwdriver type thing that you use to remove the push pins. Once you pop the center up, then you should be able to just pry this piece right out of here, like that. Okay. All right, so we get those out. All right, so I added these side vents here, and I'm going to need to remove this screw here because that's also holding that in there. So let me get that popped off. Now it just has a regular Phillips head screw in there. So your bike most likely won't have this, but there will be a screw here, probably a T20. Okay, you can see how that just kind of popped loose. All right, we're gonna just take that out of the way. Now this panel should be pretty much free. All right, so I just kind of loosened this up and pushed it out of the way. You can take it right off. I do have a couple of shields for wind deflection that I put on here, which are kind of in the way. I could take them off, but I can just actually move it out of the way. So if you can see, your oil filter is right there, okay? So there's a nut on the top of it. You're gonna take that nut off, and then you'll be able to get the filter out of there. So let me see if I have a wrench or a socket to fit that. I think it may be like a 36 millimeter, so let me see what I got to fit that. Okay, so this is a 36 millimeter, and I got a socket on there with a little ratchet, and you can see it's just coming off here. I mean, you could use a wrench if you don't have a socket, but it's probably a good idea to buy a socket. I did have this socket for something else that I had worked on previously, and obviously it came in handy for this too. So we're just going to go ahead and unthread this cover here. Okay. I've seen some people say you got to move this brake reservoir out of the way. Maybe on some models you do. I don't seem to have to on this one. We'll see when it comes time to pull this filter out. All right, so I'm going to pull the cover off. Okay, so this does have a long stem on it, which may be why they're saying to pull this brake fluid reservoir out of the way. Let's see how that's in here. Okay, so that just pops up out of the way like that. And then we can probably just snake this out through here. Okay, when you pull this out, obviously the filter slides on there. There are some O-rings, one here, one here, one here. This one's a little smaller than that one. So let's get the filter out, and then we'll go over how to put the filter in and change the O-rings. Alright, so the filter's actually sitting right here. You can see it. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. And there's your filter. Okay, so this is actually pretty accessible. Some of them, they look like they're a little bit tighter to get to. But this one seems to be okay once you get the cover out of the way. Alright, so we're just going to kind of wipe this down a little bit. Okay, so the first O-ring is this big one, and that's pretty obvious which one that is. I'll take that off. And then we have this one that's going to go in its place. Okay, you want to make sure it's sitting in that groove where it belongs. We'll put a little bit of oil on there before we install it. Alright, so then we have this little O-ring here. Take that one off. And there's a couple of different ones. That one's thicker, so it looks like it is that one. So we'll put this one on here. And then this one's a little bit bigger, which I believe is going to be that one. So we'll put this one on here. Okay, so we get the new big O-ring there, and then we have the two small O-rings there, so that's all set. We'll put these aside so we don't confuse those. And then we have our filter. Okay, that's going to go down in here like this. But I think we're going to put this in the bike, and then we'll put the cover back on. So let's go back over here. Okay, this filter looks the same on either side, so I don't think it matters which way it goes in. We'll just give this a little wipe. Make sure it's all clean. All right, and we'll take our filter. Just seat it down in there. And then we'll take the cap, slip this back in there. Okay, get that started back on there. Obviously make sure you don't cross thread it, do it by hand. Now this is a plastic filter housing, so you want to be careful. You don't want to over crank it and crack it. So start it by hand, get it down as far as you can, and then we'll come back in with the socket. Okay, then once it seats, just make sure it's snug, that's all. And then we can pop the brake master cylinder back into its bracket. So if you see it up here, there's a little piece that snaps into the bracket right there. So I'm just gonna make sure that fits back in properly. Okay, that's back in there. All right, we just want to wipe off any excess oil that may have dripped in doing this. I like to have my stuff clean, so I'll just kind of wipe things down a little bit now that I can actually see them, because normally you can't get in here and see all this. Okay, so that part of it's all set. We got the filter replaced, we got the new O-rings. Got it snugged down, everything looks good there. Now we will put the plug back in that we took out underneath, and then we'll take out the plug for the other side. Okay, so the drain plug has a couple of different gaskets. So we have this metal one, which is going to be that one. And then we have this green one. Some of the kits, when you buy them, they actually come with color-coded O-rings just to make it easier to figure out what goes where. But they're all different sizes, and it's pretty simple to tell which goes where. So like this one here is going to be this one here. This one here is a little bit bigger. pull that one off. If you have a little pick or something, sometimes it's a little easier to take these off. Okay, so that one is going to be that one. All right, so we'll put this big one on first. Okay, that one goes there. And then we'll take this one here. Put that one on there. And then we'll take the new metal ring, put that on here. Okay, so this is all set to go back in. All right, so like I said, this is a T45. Hopefully nobody chewed up the piece on there, taking it out previously. This one looks like it's okay, so let's get this plug installed back in there. All right, so we're gonna put the plug back in there. I have one of these little handheld speed ratchet things, just make it a little bit easier. But you want to start this by hand, obviously. You don't want to be cross-threading anything, so we'll get that started. All right, so if you look under the passenger side, here's your exhaust. There is another plug right here. I believe this is for the clutches, but it's the same oil. So you're gonna take a 6mm. This one's actually an Allen key, not a Torx. Okay, so we have a 6mm hex head. I have these long sockets that I got that work really well. Probably get them at like Harbor Freight or something like that. All right, so I'll take this plug out. And I'll let the rest of the oil drain out. There is a little magnet on here. It's very clean. I don't see any debris, which is great. So we're gonna grab the other O-ring out of the kit, and we'll go ahead and put that on there. Okay, so that has a little copper O-ring. Gonna replace that. So we'll let that drain out for a minute, and then we'll get that plug reinstalled, and then we'll be ready to put the oil in, and then we can run it for a little bit just to make sure there's no leaks or anything. And then the oil change should be pretty much complete at that point. I'll probably check my tire pressures just to make sure those are good. I did get a look at the belt on the other side. The belt is fairly new, so that's in good shape. You want to just kind of check everything under here, make sure everything looks good. Springs are there. So it looks like we're in good shape here. So we'll get this plug back in, and then I'll show you how to put the oil in. All right, so at this point we have both the plugs out, oil's drained, we get all the new seals and gaskets put back on, the plugs are back in. We have the oil filter removed. We have the new filter in there with the new O-rings. Everything's cleaned up and tidy and ready to go. So now at this point we're just going to add in the oil. The oil that we're using is 5W40. I believe this is a semi-synthetic blend, and this comes right from Can Am, so this is what they recommend using. It's a T4 4-stroke engine oil. So we're going to fill this up. Obviously make sure you got a clean funnel when you're doing this. You don't want to put any contaminants into your engine. All right, and then you're just going to carefully add the oil. And this funnel is going right into where the oil dipstick tube is. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this oil in, and then we'll get it started up, let it run for a minute, and then we'll check to make sure that we have no leaks from the filter housing or any of the drain plugs. Tank. I put the dipstick back in. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let it run for a couple of minutes. I want to check the oil filter. I want to check the drain plugs, just make sure there's no leaks. If everything looks good, then I'll go ahead and button up this side panel and we'll top off the oil. I think it's going to take maybe another half a quart, and then we should be good to go. So let me get it running, and we'll just check, make sure everything looks good. Okay, so we verified that nothing's leaking. That's good. I'll go ahead and take this oil stick out, give it a wipe. Put that in all the way. Okay, so right now, all right, I'm gonna say she's full at that point, so I'll double check the specs with the manual in that. So I'm gonna leave it like that for now. I'll double check it. If it says it needs more, I'll let the oil settle into the pan and then double check it again, and then it should be good to go. All right, so at this point, it's going to be a matter of putting the cover back on and getting it ready for riding. So I'm going to check my tire pressures, and then I'll get some some spray wax. We'll wipe this whole thing down, make it nice and neat and clean, and then when we get a nice sunny day and I'm able to take it to work, I'll go for a nice ride on the weekend. Should be good to go, and can have some fun with it. All right, guys, so if you have one of these Spyders, that's how you change the oil in it. Hope the information helps you out. If you plan on doing it yourself, it's really not that big a deal. Some people get a little intimidated and they want to take it to the dealer, and of course they're going to charge you a lot of money because that's what they do. But the kit's not that expensive, and it doesn't take that much time to do, and it's something you can do yourself. All right, guys, so have a safe riding season. Hope it's a nice, long, warm one for everybody. So enjoy, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.